Hi everyone, this is Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Short Rest Manga. As some of you all know, I've been using the month of April to catch up on my backlog of manga that I have before trying to collect more series. At the moment, I'm really trying to keep my collection just on this one shelf. I don't have a lot of space to keep buying bookshelves and expanding, so I'm trying to read what I have and kind of choose and pick things that I want to keep or want to get rid of. So I've been using the April to catch up on a lot of series that I have on my to-be-read shelf. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about 3 series that I have been reading that I'm really enjoying and that I would even recommend, even though I'm not done reading any of the series. So I wanted to just talk about them a little bit and let you guys know that I'm into them and maybe you guys would want to check them out too. So the first series I want to talk about is a series that I wasn't even planning on reading until I'd finished a bunch of other series. It was like at the end of my to-read list. It was not a priority because I just bought it and I had so many other things to read. But of course, I picked it up because it did look really interesting. That's Dead Dead Demons DDDD Destruction, Volume 1. And wow, I was really pleasantly surprised. And this just like blew me away. I had heard about this series, but I was recommended it by a few people in the comments. And it is so different from anything I have in my collection. And it's just really beautiful. And this was by the mangaka Asano, Inino Asano, and this is from he's the mangaka, or they're the mangaka of Goodnight Poon Poon and A Girl on the Shore and a bunch of other series that I can't think of right now, but a very well-known mangaka. And this just, like the art style, of course the cover too, like just really drew me in. And yeah, I really liked it. And it's about, so the premise of it is it's about a bunch of young girls who are deciding which high school they're going to apply for, just their daily lives, but on top of them just trying to live their lives in the city. There's an alien invasion occurring that's been happening for like 3 years, and they're just trying to, it's kind of like a slice of life, but with this huge event going on in the background that's just become daily news and has altered their life, but not really. They're just trying to, it's so interesting how it balances between these huge major world events and what high schools they're applying for. It's really well done, at least I think so. And I'm gonna try to show you some of the artwork without any spoilers. But wow, the art just blew me away. I hope you can see it pretty well, but the detail, I'm a big sucker for that. And I have never read any of Asano's works before. This is my first one. And I think this is a fantastic one to start with if you've never read any of their works. I have put off series like Goodnight Poon Poon because they are so, a lot of people are saying that it messes you up. It's very dark and heavy, and so I'm like, well, maybe not right now. It's a series I keep putting off, but so if you want to get into Asano's works, I think this is a great first one. Again, this is the only one I've read, so I don't know what that's saying. But yeah, the art and the detail really blew me away. The characters are super cool. And again, the art is so detailed. This is just the first page. And yeah, the art blew me away. And I feel like this is the first series where, unlike a lot of the things I already have on my shelf, this feels like the world is so much more real, and I feel like the characters, I can feel their flaws and they feel so much more alive to me. Maybe some of the other series where they don't really go into the backstory of why a character's a certain way. Maybe a little bit, but this is awesome. As you can tell, I really liked this first volume, and I can't wait to see where it goes and more about the girls. And it just felt way more real to me, which is ironic because of the alien invasion. And I don't want to tell you too much about that, or show you, because the art is just fascinating, and it's definitely one of those things where you flip a page and then it's this beautiful 2-panel art, and it just is really cool. Yeah, so this was awesome. Thank you for the recommendations, and I'm gonna definitely keep picking this up. Again, I can't prioritize it, but I think I'm gonna. Again, I shouldn't have even read this, but it was just like sitting on my shelf, and I was like, I need to see what this is about. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be picking up more of this for sure. I would definitely recommend you guys checking this out. If you want something that's a little bit more, again, I guess depth is the word I keep going back to. It's much more deeper than, I hate to throw any series. It just felt a lot more real to me, and I connected more to the characters much quicker than I did, I think, some other series. I feel like I'm just excited to get to know the girls more and see what paths they choose, and kind of some of their cynicisms towards the world and what's the point. And they feel like real people having real thoughts, unlike maybe some of the more scripted series where it's like, oh, this is the classic trope of this, or these people seem a lot more fleshed out, and I think they're going to be even more fleshed out as the series goes on. So I'm really excited to see what happens with the aliens, with the girls, what's gonna happen. So definitely recommend this, and if you are able to pick it up and read it, let me know what you think of the first volume, because if you had the same reaction, or maybe you read it and you're like, Sarah, this is awful. Well, I'd be really interested to know. So yeah, that's the first one I read and would recommend. Okay, so the next series I'm going to talk about is a series that I'm continuing. I've read the next couple volumes of, and I'm super enjoying this. When I actually bought this series, it was a blind buy. When I first started getting back into collecting manga and reading it, I had no idea I would like it this much, and that is Ascendance of a Bookworm. I'll do anything to become a librarian, part 1. If there aren't any books, I'll just happen to make some. Very long title. And that's because it's a light novel originally, and it's adapted into manga form, and they're both ongoing, I believe. This is volume 4, I'm halfway through this volume, and I believe volume 5 is coming out in May, very soon. And it's an isekai, which I don't have any of, except I believe one other series, that's The Farming in Another Life. Volume 1 that I talked about in my last video. I don't think I will be collecting that anymore, but if you want an isekai to try out, I would definitely try out this series. And an isekai, if you don't know, is basically when someone is brought to another world or reincarnated into another world in another life. That's kind of like the genre of it. And so this is about a girl, or a young woman, I believe she's in college, Urano, and she is a young lady who is in college and she loves books, and one day she's actually crushed to death by her bookshelves falling on top of her, and she finds herself isekai'd, or reincarnated into another world, and into a body of a young 5-year-old girl named Mai. I call her Mai, again, I just read it. It's spelled M-Y-N-E, and she finds herself in the body of this very sickly 5-year-old girl in this whole other world that she knows nothing about. It's not Japan, they don't speak Japanese. She's, has to learn like from the ground up where she is, what's going on. And from her past life, she has all of her memories and everything. And she realizes very quickly when she tries to wake up and look around that she's in Mai's family, which is now her family, is very poor, and in this world that she loves books in her past life, so she wants to look at a book when she wakes up. She realizes there's not any, and that eventually she finds out that books don't exist in this world at all. It's a different language that she doesn't understand yet, and she is very sickly. She has fevers a lot, this body is very weak, and she can't function the way she did, and now she's also a child, so she can't just, walk into a store, and the money's different. Everything is completely different. So it's really interesting to see Mai realize that, the things that she loves so much and all she wants to do in this life is read, she can't. So this story kind of takes place with her wanting to, if it actually just says in the title, do anything to become a librarian. If there aren't any books, I'm just gonna have to make some. So that's her whole mission is to just make books and like to make paper and figure out how she can bring that to this world. But again, being a 5-year-old sickly young girl in a very poor family on like the chain of, what is it, class, I guess? She's very low. There's like kings and queens, royalty, nobles, and then like the middle class, I guess, with like merchants and stuff, and guards, and I believe she falls just below that. The book does a very good job of actually, yeah, so this is kind of like the layout it shows you, so you have a little bit more imagery of where she lives, and as you get closer to the temple, which is up here, it kind of like, this is like wealth. You start from the bottom, the poorest, all the way up to like the richest in the city that she's in. And it's just so interesting to figure out, you know, how the world works, if there is fantasy elements in it. You know, every like volume, there's like something we learn about the world that we didn't know before. The characters are quite interesting. The art I really like, it's really pretty. And it's really interesting to see how she interacts with everyone and learns very quickly, because again, she's a smart young woman and it's kind of amazing, like, how does this 5-year-old know all this? So she's kind of balancing like blending in and trying to help her neighbors and bring things from her past life and knowledge into this world to help her family and show them how to do things in another way, to make food taste better, to clean themselves. It's really interesting. I've really been enjoying it. Each volume gets more and more interesting, and each volume you learn more about Mai, or I guess Urano, but Mai, and it's really cool and kind of sad to see her like gripping with the reality of her being here, if she'll ever actually fit in, and if it's, you know, worth staying. And it's really, you know, meaning like she's very sick, you know, letting the sickness overtake her. It's really, really good. And I really recommend it, definitely. And I'm not done with volume 4 yet, but it's very interesting seeing kind of the shift the story's taken. But it's very, very good. I really like it. I can't wait to get volume 5 when it comes out in May, I believe. And yeah, I also might try out the light novel of this, because I feel like you get more depth of the world a little bit more than they can really show in the manga. But I think for now I'm gonna stick with the manga and then double back and try the light novel. I guess I've just never read a light novel, so like kind of taking the plunge in. I know it sounds silly. I just haven't done that yet, but maybe one day. I feel like this would be a series that I would start with. So yeah, this is still ongoing. I'm not sure where it's gonna end, because I believe the light novel is still ongoing as well. But the volumes are pretty skinny, they're pretty easy to get through. So yeah, if you've never read an isekai or want to get into it or just love books, I feel like this is a great series for you. And again, yeah, recommend it. Okay, so the last series I want to talk about a little bit and recommend to you guys is Man Wonderland. This probably isn't a surprise to too many people, because I've talked about reading it for a very long time and just prioritized reading it. I'm finally getting around to it this month, and I've realized why I do what I do in terms of like picking things to read. I find it like a little intimidating to just like put a stack of like 12 or 13 volumes next to my bed and like, okay, this is what I'm reading. So I always gravitate towards series that have 1 or 2 volumes that I haven't read, and I like do it that way. And I realized that I can't, if I'm gonna read something, I'm gonna have to sit and read it. And so Man Wonderland is what I've just kind of started to get back into, and just sit and read and have the little stack next to my bed, be like, this is the time, this is what you're reading. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I forgot how, what's the word? Gruesome some of the scenes can be. So if you don't like gore, I guess this is like a gore warning. This has a lot of fighting and some gore, and if any of that kind of just doesn't sit well with you, I wouldn't recommend this series to you. But I would recommend this series to people that like fighting, that like kind of tournament arc-y and mystery. I think this would be a good series for you to check out. The art is pretty cool. Here's a little bit of it. And I'll try to find a little bit more. Yeah, it can be a little intense in times. And yeah, again, I'm not gonna show any of the blood. So a short synopsis of Dead Man Wonderland. It is about Ganta, a middle schooler, and one day he's in school and this strange being, and what he calls the Red Man, who's this person, appears just outside the window of the school and just massacres his whole class, and he's the only one that survives. And so he's the only one to see this figure and remember it. But he ends up going to jail for this crime of mass murder, and he's sent to Dead Man Wonderland, which is the prison he's in. So after being sent to this prison called Dead Man Wonderland, he finds out that he, as a death row inmate, has to go to a special ward, and he, along the way, I'll leave that part a mystery, he discovers that he has a strange power that he didn't know he had, where he can manipulate blood as a weapon. And he finds out that he has this power along with a bunch of other inmates on death row, and they actually have to fight against each other for prizes and punishments as a way that the prison makes money. It entertains people, rich of all backgrounds, and they show these fights of these prisoners fighting with these strange abilities to raise money for the prison and other things. And it's kind of twisted. And again, there is blood and gore. It's not too bad most of the time, but there is some descriptions and some images that people might not like. But it's really, really good, and it kind of keeps you on your toes a lot, and you never know who to trust, who you can trust, who someone really is, and the characters are pretty interesting. He meets a lot of these other death row inmates and has experiences with them. Again, I'm trying to stay vague because that's half the fun is finding out things along the way with this series. And it's not something that he wants to do. Again, he's a middle schooler that is not violent. He doesn't want to fight or be there, but he is kind of coaxed into the idea of staying because one of the people there says that they know the Red Man and the Red Man is here, and he wants to find the Red Man, and so that's his reason to stay in the prison. Not that he could really get out, but he is told that the Red Man is there and that he wants to find him because this is the person who caused the crime, not him. And it just is this elaborate plan, and it's just really cool. The punishment games are kind of intense. You get really good things for winning these fights, and pretty dangerous things if you don't win. So there are big consequences to that, and it's really cool to see the fight scenes and kind of behind the scenes. You get to see the people running the prison and what Ganta's doing, and you're just kind of putting pieces together as you go. And yeah, it's really interesting, and I would recommend it. The art is really cool, and I think I showed these already, I'm not sure. But yeah, the characters are very interesting as well. The art is cool. Can't show you that. But yeah, I am having a blast reading it. I'm sometimes on the edge of my seat, like, oh, it's gonna happen. And surprisingly, it's where you kind of care for, at least for me, I'm kind of invested in everybody, generally, maybe not two people. But I feel like anything could happen at any time, and I do like series like that, where I feel like they're not predictable. The only thing about this series that I've heard is that people aren't always happy with the ending. Some people think it falls flat or whatever. I don't think everyone's enjoyed how it ended, but that's completely up to you. Some people might love it. I'm gonna leave that up to me. I don't wanna go into the ending assuming it's gonna be bad. So I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to get through it, and I'll definitely tell you guys my final thoughts when I'm all done with the series. But I'm really enjoying it so far, and if, again, you like action, a little bit of goriness, I would definitely check out these series. And I don't want to, I guess, hype too much on the gore part because it's not wrapped or anything. They're open volume, so it's not too bad. But again, there is some blood, a lot of blood. But I'm really enjoying it so far, and I knew I would, which is why I bought all 13 volumes of it, and I'm just working my way through it now. But just wanted to share that with you guys, that I would recommend checking this out if any of that sounded interesting to you. So those are the 3 series that I just wanted to talk about, that I'm reading, that I'm really, really liking, and that I would recommend you guys check out if you haven't already. Before I end today's video, I wanted to ask you guys for your help. I'll actually be placing an order from Right Stuf in the next week or so, and I am like $7 away from free shipping. And I was wondering if you knew of any good one-shots that I could pick up. I was going to pick up All You Need Is Kill, but it's out of stock again. It goes in and out of stock very, very quickly, and I want my order to be all in stock so it doesn't delay my order. And so I was wondering, like, I thought it'd be fun to ask you guys what one shot you would recommend and add that to my order, and so it's kind of like an extra surprise when I do my haul for when I get the order. So let me know in the comments if you have a one shot that you'd recommend for me to try, and I'll be looking through them to get recommendations. But with that, that's all I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you coming and stopping by to hear all my rambling about manga series. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.